What if I told you that a small country most people couldn't even locate on a map, suddenly discovered billions of barrels of oil, and within just a few years, became one of the fastest growing economies on Earth? No war. No decades-long industrial buildup. Just one discovery that changed everything. This is the unbelievable story of Guyana, and how oil is transforming an entire nation almost overnight. But here's the real question. Will this discovery make Guyana one of the richest countries in the world, or repeat the mistakes that have destroyed others? Stay with me, because the answer is far more complicated than you think. Intro. For decades, Guyana remained one of South America's quietest and least discussed countries. Its economy depended largely on agriculture, mining, and exports like sugar, rice, and gold. Infrastructure was limited. Opportunities were scarce. Many young people left the country in search of better futures abroad. Then, in 2015, everything changed. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, one of the largest oil discoveries of the century was confirmed. Suddenly, global energy companies turned their attention to Guyana. Investors arrived. Projects accelerated. And the country entered a transformation few nations ever experience. This isn't just an oil story. This is a story about speed, strategy, and the race to build a future before opportunity slips away. Number 1. The discovery that shocked the world. In 2015, energy giant ExxonMobil announced a massive offshore oil discovery in the Stabroek Block. At first, analysts were cautious. Oil exploration often produces exaggerated expectations. But then came another discovery. And another. Within a few years, estimates revealed something extraordinary: over 11 billion barrels of recoverable oil. To understand how massive this is, some countries have built entire national economies on far smaller reserves. And Guyana wasn't just sitting on oil. It was sitting on one of the most profitable offshore discoveries in modern history. Production began in 2019. By 2026, output surged toward nearly 1 million barrels per day, placing Guyana among the fastest-growing oil producers in the world. And here's where the story gets even more interesting, because unlike traditional oil giants, Guyana had never managed a petroleum economy before. There were no long-established systems. No deep technical workforce. No massive industrial base. Everything had to be built from scratch. Number 2. A country moving at unbelievable speed. Most countries take decades to scale their oil sectors. Guyana is attempting to do it in less than 10 years. New offshore production vessels were deployed rapidly. Infrastructure projects began expanding. Foreign investment started pouring in. But oil alone doesn't transform a country. Money does not automatically create development. History has shown that resource wealth can either build nations or destabilize them. Economists call this the resource curse. Countries suddenly flooded with oil money often struggle with corruption, inflation, economic imbalance, overdependence on one industry. Guyana faced the same risk, which meant the government had to act fast. Number 3. The plan to avoid the resource curse. Under President Irfan Ali, Guyana began pushing an aggressive development strategy. The goal wasn't just to export oil. The goal was to transform the entire economy. Oil revenues are now being directed into infrastructure development, energy production, technical education, agriculture expansion, manufacturing capacity. Instead of relying solely on crude exports, the country is attempting to build long-term industries. One of the most important projects currently underway is the Gas-to-Energy initiative, designed to dramatically lower electricity costs. Why does this matter? Because cheap electricity can unlock industrial growth, factories, processing plants, and new businesses. In other words, oil creates revenue. Energy creates economies. Number 4. The global rush into Guyana. When a new oil frontier emerges, the world pays attention. And that's exactly what happened. Major international players began forming partnerships with Guyana to develop infrastructure and supply chains. Engineering firms, logistics companies, and investors see something rare: a country at the very beginning of an economic transformation. Massive projects are now being discussed, including deep water ports, new highways connecting regional markets, industrial zones, expanded aviation infrastructure. These developments are not just about oil. They're about positioning Guyana as a regional economic hub. And timing is critical, because global energy markets are changing rapidly. Number 5. The oil boom is already changing daily life. Economic transformations don't just happen in boardrooms. They appear in everyday life. Construction activity across Guyana has increased dramatically. New businesses are opening. Job opportunities are expanding. Government budgets have also grown significantly, allowing increased spending on schools, hospitals, public infrastructure. But rapid growth also brings new challenges. Housing demand is rising. Urban areas are expanding quickly. Cost of living pressures are beginning to appear. This is the balancing act of every fast-growing economy. Grow too slowly, and opportunity is lost. Grow too fast, and stability becomes difficult. Guyana is walking that line right now. Number 6. The next chapter: natural gas. While oil dominates the headlines, another resource may shape Guyana's future even more: natural gas. Unlike oil, which is primarily exported, gas can be used domestically to power industries and households. This could dramatically reduce electricity costs across the country and make manufacturing more competitive. Energy experts believe natural gas could become the bridge between Guyana's oil boom and long-term economic stability. But there's still a major question looming: can the country build the necessary infrastructure fast enough? Because in energy economics, timing is everything. But pause for a second. Think about this. Just 10 years ago, very few people globally were even discussing Guyana's economy. Today, it's being analyzed by investors, economists, and policymakers worldwide. That level of transformation is almost unheard of. And yet, the biggest changes may still be ahead. Let me ask you something. If your country suddenly discovered billions of barrels of oil, what would be the first thing you would invest in: education, infrastructure, or technology? Comment below. I'm genuinely curious to see your answers. Number 7. The risk still ahead. Despite all the optimism, the future is not guaranteed. Oil markets are volatile. Prices fluctuate. Global energy transitions toward renewables are accelerating. And many countries that experienced sudden oil wealth struggled to convert it into long-term prosperity. Guyana must carefully manage revenue transparency, economic diversification, workforce development, environmental protection. Because the real challenge isn't discovering oil. It's managing what comes after. Number 8. Why the world is watching. Guyana represents something unique in modern economics: a new oil nation emerging at a time when the global energy landscape is shifting. This creates both opportunity and pressure. If managed correctly, Guyana could become one of the strongest economic success stories of the 21st century. If mismanaged, it could become another cautionary tale. The difference will come down to decisions being made right now. Guyana's story is not just about oil. It's about transformation. It's about how quickly a nation can change when opportunity meets leadership, strategy, and global investment. In less than a decade, Guyana has gone from economic obscurity to global relevance. But the most important chapter hasn't been written yet. Because oil discoveries create possibilities, only smart decisions create futures. Final thoughts. The rise of Guyana proves something powerful. One discovery can change a country, but only vision can change its destiny. If you enjoyed this deep dive into global transformations and energy stories, make sure to like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next documentary. And remember, the world is changing faster than ever, and sometimes, the biggest stories come from the smallest places.